Ah, politics. The activities associated with the governance of a country or other area. Except most of the time it doesn't seem to be like that, does it? It more seems to be people yelling at each other for no good reason at all, in fact, because they happen to put themselves into separate groups. But why are we so focused on arguing each other constantly with things that just usually have no bearing on our day to day lives? Part of this argument, or rather most of it, I believe, is due to the tribalism inherent in human nature. We need to be right while others outside of your group are wrong. And when it comes to politics these days in America, we are divided into a two-party system where people are supposed to identify themselves with one side or another. And when it comes to political discussions, this just isn't very helpful. Sure, you can find solace in being part of your group, but when it comes to actual politics, it's rather unhelpful to constantly yell at your neighbor instead of actual creation of new ideas. Some people who happen to be more into politics will find themselves attracted to what is known as the political compass, which is representation of multiple axes on which you can define yourself, usually economic and authoritarian. While this is more helpful for defining yourself as a political thinker, it still does have some flaws, such as the clarity of what axis means which. For example, the popular site politicalcompass.org specifies itself as having an economic and authoritarian axis. And while they claim this, it isn't necessarily true. As a test, I decided to go through and answer slight agree to every single question that they had. While I was doing this, I had noticed some questions which we usually think of as sort of culturally left to right, such as, for example, astrology or things to do with race. These things strike me as having neither to do with how authoritarian or economically free your ideals are. So as a secondary test, I decided to go through and answer just for the astrology question instead of slight agree, strongly disagree. And what I got surprised me because the result ended up being more libertarian because I disagreed with astrology. I find this odd, and it's just frankly inaccurate considering, how would disagreeing with astrology mean you think there should be less government? I'm unsure. As a solution to this, people have come up with many different models, such as, for example, the three-dimensional model, which looks ridiculous. Or one that I happen to prefer is the 9-axis political model, although you can take this to a theoretical extreme and have as many axes as you want. I think this is quite a bit more helpful for having political discussions, considering that you can divide your political discussion into, say, just one of these axes and not have to worry about fighting with the other person on beliefs that are irrelevant to the topic at hand. I hope this helps to enhance your future political discussions.